March 11, 1876, Reading Eagle, Reading, Pennsylvania. The shower of flesh. The mystery still unraveled. The shower of flesh that fell on the farm of Allen Crouch in Bath County, Kentucky, is still a puzzle to everybody, a Louisville special says. Mrs. Crouch was out in the yard at the time, engaged in making soap, when the meat, which looked like beef, began to fall around her. The sky was perfectly clear at the time, and she said it felt like large snowflakes, the pieces, as a general thing, being not much larger. One piece fell near her, which was 3 or 4 inches square. Mr. Harrison Gill, whose veracity is unquestionable, and from whom we obtained the above facts, hearing of the occurrence, visited the locality the next day, and he saw particles of the meat sticking to the fences and scattered over the ground. The meat, when it first fell, appeared to be perfectly fresh. A correspondent of the Louisville Commercial, writing from Mount Sterling, corroborates the above, and says the pieces of flesh were of various sizes and shapes, some of them being 2 inches square. 2 gentlemen who tasted the meat expressed the opinion that it was either mutton or venison. A Louisville Associated Press dispatch says Captain J.M. Bent of Mount Sterling, Kentucky, arrived in Louisville tonight with specimens of the flesh which fell last Friday to Bath County. The flesh covered 2 acres of ground, resembled mutton, and left traces of blood on trees and fences which were touched by falling flakes. The heavens were clear and the sun shone. Only fleeting clouds were visible at the time, 2 p.m. March 3. Quantities of the flesh have been preserved. That brought to Louisville was given to Professor Lawrence Smith, the well-known scientist who says it is, no doubt, animal flesh. Another correspondent says the flesh covered a strip of ground about 100 yards in length and 50 yards wide. Mr. Crouch lives in the southern portion of Bath County, 2 or 3 miles from Olympian Springs. A correspondent at Mudlick Springs says, at the time, 2 p.m., the heavens were bright, the sun was shining, and only a few fleeting clouds were visible. Suddenly there appeared a high cloud over the farm of Mr. Crouch, which seemed descending upon the earth. It hung overhead a few brief moments, and then flakes of something white fell to earth. The fall continued 10 minutes. Men and women then went out and examined the flakes and discovered them to be flesh resembling mutton. When picked up, they quivered. A space 200 by 100 yards in extent was covered, and a number of trees, fences, and etc. were also full of the strange substance. Stains, like those produced by blood in its secondary condition, marked spots where the flakes had touched. Droves of chickens and hogs swarmed around the place and ate the flesh with great gusto. The inhabitants for miles around came for several days after and collected specimens. Hundreds are willing to testify by affidavit to the truth of the entire matter. The strips of flesh were from 1 inch to 2 inches wide, from 1 inch to 3 inches long, and half to 3/4 of an inch in thickness. March 28, 1876, Crawfordsville Star, Crawfordsville, Indiana. A modern shower. History tells of showers of blood, which was red sand and water, and showers of frogs from neighboring ponds. And in 1839, an English officer residing near Calcutta saw a quantity of live fish, each about 3 inches long, and all of one kind, descend in a smart shower of rain. In 1828, Major Forbes Mackenzie of Fodderty in Rossshire found his farm covered with herring fry, fresh and entire, and, as the easiest explanation of how they came there, he naturally concluded that they had fallen from the sky. In 1804, Professor Pontus of Cahors communicated to the French Academy the particulars of a shower of frogs near Toulouse, and, in proof that the lively batrachians had dropped out of the upper air, confidently pointed to 2 of them that he had seen on the cloak of a gentleman caught in the rain. He said, but it is not known that the academicians believed him, that in the road the frogs had fallen 4 deep. Such phenomena, when the accounts of men are believed, are commonly accounted for on the supposition that a whirlwind catches up the fish into the air and blows them landward, or scoops up a whole pond full of frogs and distributes them about the country. But the Bath County, Kentucky News has a finer story than any of these, in which it tells of how a shower of meat, each piece about 2 inches square, fell near Olympian Springs and covered about 5,000 yards of earth. 2 gentlemen who tasted the meat say that it was either mutton or venison. From this, it appears that a whirlwind must have struck some boarding house or restaurant where 5,000 yards of hash were in preparation. But, as there were no signs of pie or fish balls in the shower, this theory does not seem to be much better than a hypothesis. It is, indeed, offered merely as a provisional explanation, until more accurate information as to the facts shall be forthcoming. June 10, 1876, Three Rivers Reporter, Three Rivers, Michigan. NOSTOC, a scientific explanation of the Kentucky meat shower. It appears to be a law of nature that weeds should grow up with flowers, tares with corn, and that superstition should almost touch truth. Showers of frogs, of fishes, of bloody rain and snow have frequently occurred. The last sensation, however, the fall of flesh in Kentucky, offers some features of special interest. In 1537, while Paracelsus was engaged in the production of his Elixir of Life, he came across a very strange-looking vegetable mass, to which he gave the name of nostoc. The want of rapid transportation, combined with the perishable nature of the substances fallen, have hitherto prevented a complete and exhaustive examination. The specimens of the Kentucky shower, however, reached this city well preserved in glycerin, and it has been comparatively easy to identify the substance and to fix its status. The Kentucky wonder is nothing more nor less than the nostoc of the old alchemist. The nostoc belongs to the confervae. It consists of translucent gelatinous bodies joined together by thread-like tubes or seed-bearers. There are about 50 species of this singular plant classified. 2 or 3 kinds have even been found in a fossil state. Like other confervae, the nostoc propagates by self-division as well as by seeds or spores. When these spores work their way out of the gelatinous envelope, they may be wafted by the winds here and there, and they may be carried great distances. Wherever they may fall and find congenial soil, viz. Dampness or recent rain, there they will thrive and spread very rapidly, and many cases are recorded where they have covered miles of ground in a very few hours with long strings of nostoc. On account of this rapidity of growth, people almost everywhere faithfully believe the nostoc to fall from the clouds and describe to it many mysterious virtues. The plant is not confined to any special locality or to any climate. Sown by the whirlwind, carried by a current of air, in need of moisture only for existence and support, it thrives everywhere. Icebergs afloat in mid-ocean have been found covered with it. In New Zealand, it is found in large masses of quaking jelly, several feet in circumference and covering miles of damp soil. And, in our own country, it may be found in damp woods, on meadows, and on marshy or even gravelly bottom. All the nostocs are composed of a semi-liquid cellulose and vegetable proteins. The edible nostoc is highly valued in China, where it forms an essential ingredient of the edible bird nest soup. The flesh that was supposed to have fallen from the clouds in Kentucky is the flesh-colored nostoc, encomium of the botanist. The flavor of it approaches frog or spring chicken legs and is greedily devoured by almost all domestic animals. Such supposed showers are not rare and are entirely in harmony with natural laws. In the East Indies, the same nostoc is used as an application in ulcers and scrofulous diseases, while every nation in the East considers it nourishing and palatable and uses it even for food when dried by sun heat.